The program is Service to Humanity, designed to update you on activities of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. And I am your regular anchor, Habiba Zakzak. You are welcome to this episode. The recommencement of payments to beneficiaries of the Household Upliftment Program, popularly known as the CCT, is on. On this episode, we shall see how Nasarawa State is handling the exercise. This, plus highlights of events from some agencies under the ministry, make up our package. Why don't you sit back and watch as we unfold the details? I'll be back shortly.
The NPower program is key to helping young Nigerians acquire and develop.
The federal government of Nigeria remains committed to including and protecting persons with disabilities to guarantee that no one is left behind.
I see that we are going through challenging times, and I see this woman running all about the country trying to help our people, because this lady is doing a very good job for our country.
Thank you. Thank you for all what I've been doing for us.
It's good news for NPower beneficiaries from batches A and B who are being owed their stipends, as the ministry announced the commencement of payments of outstanding stipends. Details of this and other news in our first segment, the News Diary.
The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development has commenced the final payment of the arrears on the few outstanding allowances of batches A and B and NPower volunteers. The commencement of this payment was announced in a press statement signed by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Bashir Nura Al-Kali, on behalf of the Minister. In the statement, the Ministry explained that the accounts of 4,021 volunteers were flagged in March 2020 by the federal government payment system due to various reasons which violate the regulations guiding the NPower volunteer program. Some of the reasons include beneficiaries having multiple accounts, beneficiaries' accounts receiving other payments such as salaries and allowances from multiple federal government agencies on permanent employment or participating in other schemes. Following detailed investigation in collaboration with relevant government MDAs, the accounts of 9,066 volunteers were cleared for final payment. As such, the 5 months allowance arrears of these volunteers, totaling 150,000, is already being paid by the ministry, while the allowances of the remaining 4,955 will be withheld pending conclusion of further investigation. Bashir Nura Al-Kali reiterated the commitment of the ministry to transparency in the implementation and institutionalization of the National Social Investment Program (NSIP), while ensuring its efficient management. The ministry regrets the delays experienced in concluding this process, but assures the public that transparency and accountability cannot be compromised in all its activities.
My name is Pilakwa John Sute. I'm a beneficiary of the NPower program. I'm from Benue State. This program, I found it so interesting, and I must commend the federal government for putting up this scheme, because the world general has gone digital, and we need to equip ourselves before time to capture the digitality. The advent of the program into Nigeria is actually on point. I must say that programming is one course I've ever had wish to study before now. Coming in here for this program, I have actually started it. I'm on the 4 program now. I have done HTML, I have done CSS, I have done Bootstrap, and I'm now into JavaScript. They're not easy programs, but by the time you get into studying them step by step, you get used to them, and you discover that, of course, when you hear about coding, it may sound as if it's a mathematical calculation stuff, but there are normal words you use on daily basis. The issue is there's just a way you need to, arrange those words to produce something that you view it in any of the browsers. So, of course, it's quite an interesting program. I appreciate perfectly that we need the basics, and we are actually given the basics.
The United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHCR, in Geneva, recently paid a courtesy visit to the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. They were received by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Bashir Nura Al-Kali, on behalf of the Minister. The Permanent Secretary, in his speech, appreciated UNHCR for its unrelenting support for Nigeria in providing the much-needed humanitarian assistance in managing migration-related issues. He outlined some of the steps the ministry has taken in collaboration with other agencies and partners to provide lasting solutions to the refugee problem.
UNHCR is one of the key partners that have been diligently supporting the ministry in providing protection and assistance to refugees and IDPs. And we have cooperated in several areas, as you have said, on the management of IDPs. One of the key priorities is to sustain the process of recovery, which includes development of sustainable homegrown models for rehabilitation, reintegration, and reconstruction. And that we are glad you are doing very well with us. Now, being the coordinating agency, the ministry has facilitated the adoption of the national policies, including that of IDPs, I'm sure you're aware of that, which incorporated the provisions of the Kampala Convention. The policy is an overarching framework that guides operations while ensuring coordinated and coherent approach. To ensure the provision of a sustainable, durable solutions, the ministry, in collaboration with relevant organizations, has launched a homegrown strategy, which is the Humanitarian Peace Development Framework, in line with global best practices. The framework adopted an area-based approach towards peace building and sustainable national development.
Mr. Bashir Nura Al-Kali also restated Nigeria's commitment, seeing that Nigerian migrants and refugees return to the country under international best practices.
Regarding the issue of refugee management, the Nigerian government is poised in ensuring the voluntary return of Nigerian refugees in neighboring countries, and as a result of the activities of Boko Haram and other bandits, we are committed to implement within international best practices. Equally, it is significant to note that the Nigerian government is presently hosting a large number of refugees from neighboring countries, and we are working hard in collaboration with your good selves to provide adequate protection to the refugees and the asylum seekers.
The delegation from the UNHCR was led by Assistant High Commissioner for Operations, Ralph Mazou. He was supported by the country representative of the UNHCR in Nigeria, Chansa Kapaya. In their various comments, they pledged continuous support for Nigeria on migration issues and sustainable solutions to the refugee situation in the Northeast, particularly Borno State.
Nigeria, we've been to Borno State, where we were well received by the state authorities, the deputy governor, as the governor is away. We visited Banki, IDP settlement, also Bakassi, IDP camp, and this occasion is really to interact with the federal authorities. As I've said, he's already interacted with the state authorities in Borno. It's to interact with the federal authorities to share ideas and views about some of the humanitarian challenges that UNHCR is working with the government of Nigeria.
So this visit is really first to express our solidarity. This is a difficult situation. Borno in particular, there are close to 3 million internally displaced persons. This is, from a humanitarian point of view, a very serious issue and a serious problem that the country is facing, and of course which requires the support of the international community. So came to also express that solidarity. Also came to have conversation with the government of the state of Borno to talk about the return of some refugees. And as you know, a few months ago, a number of refugees came back from Cameroon, and As I said earlier, we had an opportunity to see them when we were in Banki. Other refugees are in Niger, about 170,000, or in Chad, about 16,000. Some of them may want to come back to Nigeria. So how do we make sure that they can come back, and what kind of support, assistance needs to be in place, and security needs to be in place for them to be able to come back.
The Federal Commissioner for Refugees, Mrs. Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, who accompanied the special guests to the ministry, added her voice to the discussion by highlighting what the Refugee Commission is doing to lessen the burdens and issues as it relates to returnees and persons of concern.
For the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a few years ago, we've had a whole ministry which we're present here today, dedicated towards, uplifting the vulnerable, which has a lot to do with persons of concern and the refugees, of course. In achieving our pledges, the GCR, the Global Compact for Refugees, we've worked with the CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, to launch the project Reliance. We've begun a pilot with IDPs, which we spread to address other persons of concerns like the returnees and the refugees, of course.
26th August 2021, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs flagged off the recommencement of payment of stipends to beneficiaries of the conditional cash transfer. Since that flag-off, states of the Federation have commenced payments of the backlogs to beneficiaries. Nasarawa State is not left out, as the 6 befitting local governments have received payments. Let's see for ourselves how the exercise went.
I therefore, in the name of Allah the Almighty, wish to launch the recommencement process on the implementation of the CCT and digitization nationwide. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
With that, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs flagged off the recommencement of payment to beneficiaries of the Household Upliftment Program, popularly known as the Conditional Cash Transfer. Nasarawa State adjoins the Federal Capital Territory. It started implementing the CCT in 2017 across 6 local governments, namely Lafia, Wamba, Akwanga, Awe, Kokona, and Nasarawa. 48,687 beneficiaries are currently beneficiaries under the scheme. These are CCT beneficiaries from Wamba. They are celebrating the completion of a borehole constructed by their cooperative group. Some of them speak on how they became beneficiaries.
Some people came to my house and wrote something on the wall. They returned another day and said they want to support us. They asked the number of kids. I told them. They also asked about my husband, but I told them I'm a widow, and they promised to support me with payment of school fees.
When the cash transfer office resumed payment in the state, beneficiaries could not hide their joy. Men and women queued up to collect their stipends courtesy of the federal government. The very old were not left out, even though they could not stand in the long queues. In seeing that no one is left behind, Barnabas Haruna and his wife and sick child in hospital were not forgotten. He expressed his gratitude to the federal government, saying the money came at a time he needed it most.
I want to really thank Mr. President and the staff that are running this program. Of a truth, I'm a family man with 4 children. It's not easy because it happened that I graduated from my high institution, there's no work. But any time that this money comes to us, it will help us in so many ways. We use it to buy food, We use to buy ingredients. We use to buy even the in case of sickness like this nature. It will help us in so many ways. So I really appreciate the Mr. President. And
other beneficiaries of the program expressed their gratitude to President Buhari, saying the program has really bettered their lives.
We appreciate Baba Buhari for his gesture and kindness towards women. He understands the plight of women. That is why he brought different programs to make life easy for women. We pray that God strengthen him and help him to keep supporting women till the end of his tenure. We were in front of the house when they came. My husband sent for me to come because he was ill at that time. They noted his name down and returned for the capturing thereafter.
We are delighted with this scheme that President Buhari brought to support women. We have just been paid 30,000 naira each. We are so happy with this support. This money we collected, we will put in a portion in our cooperative for farming. By God's grace, next season farming will yield more than what you can see now. We are sure with the continuation of this scheme that poverty level in Haingada will reduce.
Mrs. Rhoda Akbau, head of unit Nasarawa Cash Transfer Office, while speaking at the event, appreciated the government for the initiative. She explained that call for expansion of the program is quite high.
The pressure for inclusion is very, very high. So we thank the government for this fabulous initiative, and we pray that in due time, the remaining local governments that are not implementing should start implementing, so that equity and justice will be given to everyone.
You are still watching Service to Humanity. One of the agencies under the purview of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs is the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP. Together with the ministry, the agency fulfills Nigeria's international obligation to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially women and children. You will recall that last week, we reported the appointment of a new DG at the agency. What is her area of focus? Find out in our next segment, even as we bring you highlights of recent events by the agency.
Nigeria's commitment to stop the menace of human trafficking is not in doubt. During this year's celebration of the World Day Against Human Trafficking in Nigeria, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, represented by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Bashir Nura Al-Kali, reiterated this commitment when he outlined the dangers of human trafficking while highlighting what government is doing to check the scourge.
Apart from its viral consequences in fueling other crimes like drug trafficking and even money laundering, its major victims are mostly innocent women and children who clearly represent the future of the society. It is a record that the administration of His Excellency President Muhammad Buhari has continued to demonstrate the required political will in the fight against human trafficking and providing necessary direction and support to NAPTIP and other critical stakeholders in a bid to make Nigeria a human trafficking-free nation. This is clearly demonstrated in the speedy approval and sustained assistance for the development of various policies, as well as unhindered interagency collaboration, which have resulted in the modest achievement recorded by Nigeria through the agency. As part of our counter-trafficking efforts to address factors fueling human trafficking in Nigeria, the present administration, through the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, has deliberately tilted the beneficiaries of our various poverty alleviation interventions and life support schemes to mainly youths and women in order to reduce their vulnerability and make them less tempted to be lured by human traffickers.
While explaining that diplomatic ties are being strengthened with countries to end the trend, he restated Nigeria's commitment to stop trafficking while lauding the work done by NAPTIP.
We have always worked above the minimum standards required in the fight against human trafficking because it is the welfare and security of our people and other nationals residing in the country that is our main concern. And we shall continue to strive to do more to secure our people and reduce all the conditions that make our communities more vulnerable to being trafficked. NAPTIP, as the focal agency of government established to minimize the incidence of human trafficking in the country, has certainly lived up to its expectations, and all hands must be on deck to support the institution.
It is in line with building on the successes the agency has scored that a new Director General was announced by President Muhammadu Buhari on the 8th of September 2021. The new NAPTIP Director General, Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi, resumed office on Monday, 13th of September 2021. She was received by the outgoing DG, Senator Bashir Muhammad Lado, top management staff, and other members of staff. The outgoing DG, Senator Bashir Muhammad Lado, officially welcomed the incoming Director General. He gave a rundown of some of the activities, achievements, and challenges. Lado also appreciated every member of the management team for their support during his stay. The incoming DG expressed her gratitude to everyone present. She stated that she looks forward to a good working relationship.
I'm very certain we'll get along. So my primary focus is to be a support and resource for each and every one of you. And my goal for the next coming days is to get to know you all personally and also understand your role in this agency.
Across the 6 geopolitical zones.
They should use this money for what it is meant for, efficiently to take care of their family.
In 36 states and the FCT. Over 6.4 million of Nigerians poorest of the poor in about 1.3 million households receive conditional cash transfers of 5,000 naira monthly under the Household Upliftment Program of the federal government. Their joy knows no bound.
And the government is very well because they did work for us.
It helped me to do any other thing, my family.
Reducing absolute poverty, promoting shared prosperity through the Conditional Cash Transfer Initiative. The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development in service to humanity.
This is where we end this episode of the program Service to Humanity. Join me again same time next week for another interesting episode of the program. Don't forget to watch us on all our social media handles, even as you send us messages, observations, and comments. Thank you for staying tuned and see you next week.